Now the defenders of the stronghold of democracy and of equal opportunity.
You and I, as citizens, have the obligation to shape the debates of our time, not only with the votes we cast, but with the voices we lift.
The people are looking for honest answers, not easy answers.
The very word secrecy is repugnant.
Clear leadership.
And we are, as a people,
not false claims and evasiveness and politics as usual.
Opposed to secret societies.
As a people, we cannot afford to let any group of citizens or any individual citizen live or labor under conditions which are injurious to the Commonwealth.
Black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, men, women, folks with disabilities, all pledging allegiance under the same proud flag to this big, bold country that we love. That's what I see. That's the America I know.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
Welcome to the Aggressive Progressive Podcast. I am your host, Chris Hahn. I'm at Christopher Hahn on X, Christopher Hahn NY on Instagram, and ChristopherHahn.com. Those are my socials. Hope you're watching, rating, reviewing, and sharing this with your friends. I hope you didn't miss me last week. I was out a couple days, but here I am. I'm back, and there's a lot to talk about. So let's get to it. I am all for a policy that prioritizes American interests. But I think we need to agree on what American interests are. I don't know what you may have thought you saw on Friday when Donald Trump and J.D. Vance attacked Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, in the Oval Office. Right down to the point where one of Trump's aides asked him why he didn't wear a suit. I mean, give me a freaking break. This man and the people of Ukraine have been fighting Russia for 3 years. We have been helping. It has been our policy. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance asking this guy to come into the Oval Office and stop hating Russia. If you ever had a doubt on whose interest Donald Trump puts first, that media veil should make it crystal clear to you who he thinks he should be working with. Russia with an economy smaller than the state of Texas, and nuclear arms. Well, France, England, they also have nuclear arms. We have nuclear arms. Russia and China, right? And plus many other countries that pretend they don't have them, but they do. I don't understand it. I don't think it was very American what he did in that meeting. I don't think it was very American to say, nice country you have. You better work with us or you're not going to have it anymore. I don't think it's very American for Lindsey Graham and others to go on the news programs and the Speaker of the House suggesting that Ukraine needs to change its leader. By the way, all of this is actually making him look significantly better in the eyes of his countrymen. Look, Trump is breaking down the world order that has protected the United States and its interests and allowed us to become really the only superpower in the world since World War II, right? The NATO alliance has allowed the United States of America to dominate the world for over 75 years. Donald Trump is breaking that down. Why is he breaking that down? You'll have to ask him. Why does he think that that's in the best interest of the United States? You'll have to ask him. Something happened towards the end of World War II. It was a thing called the Bretton Woods Conference, where all of the leaders of the free world, the victors, if you will, of World War II, came together and decided that the US dollar would be the currency by which all other currencies are based off of, right? The world reserve currency, because it was the most stable. And it didn't have the same kind of rebuilding that almost all of the other countries in Europe and Asia had to deal with after World War II. Keep it up, Donald. And I don't think that we're going to be the world reserve currency anymore. I think that's going to be the euro. Because I don't really think that we're going to win this in a way that win is probably the wrong word. I don't think that we're going to come out of this in a way that he thinks. Now, I'd like to see peace in Ukraine. I would like to see Russia withdraw from Ukraine. I would like to see the United States have some sort of interest in Ukraine that keeps us there in a way that is not militarily, but deters any aggression from Russia. But the actions Donald Trump took last week, if they continue, are not actions that are going to make us safer. It's not actions that are going to make the rest of Europe safer. I mean, if I was in Latvia or Estonia or Lithuania or Poland right now, I'd be very concerned about what I saw there, because what does it say about NATO? I mean, we obviously, Ukraine is not a NATO ally, but it was one that wanted to join NATO. Part of why we're in this situation right now. Russia didn't want to see that happen, and they went in. I don't think this is an America first policy. I know that that's what he claims it is, but I don't think it's America first. I think it's Putin first. And I'm not even saying Russia. I'm saying Putin. Putin's not the Russian people. He basically enslaves the Russian people. It's a nation of people impoverished. And him and his buddies benefit exclusively from their efforts. I am your host, Chris Hahn. I'm at Christopher Hahn on X, Christopher Hahn NY on Instagram, and ChristopherHahn.com. Those are my socials. You could catch me, if you're not watching me already, on YouTube at The Aggressive Progressive on YouTube. And The Aggressive Progressive podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. So check me out there too. All right. So let's just, I want to sum up a little bit what I've been thinking about this. I have spent the entire weekend terrified of what I saw in the Oval Office. I mean, terrified is probably a strong word. Disgusted is probably a better word. The world is on fire, and the American people have elected an arsonist. What Donald Trump is doing right now is not dissuading Russia and even China from further aggression. I mean, what does this say? What message is this sending to China in respect to Taiwan? No. What Trump is doing is encouraging them. What Trump believes is that might makes right. Trial by combat. Right? I mean, this is the whole thing about the election, right? The election was trial by combat for him. I mean, J.D. Vance brought up the election. I digress. I think it's incumbent on all of us to encourage our representatives in Congress and in the United States Senate, and the House and the Senate, both are Congress, to push back against this president, even on foreign policy. It's so hard. I mean, I am not a foreign policy guy. It's not my thing. I'm a politics guy, right? I want to talk X's and O's. I want to talk about how this impacts that and where we wind up. But I think that this is scary stuff. And I think long term, the impact on the United States of America, I mean, assuming Congress doesn't do something to curtail this in the next year or so, I think the long-term impact is going to be devastating to our economy, to our security, just to American dominance on the world stage. And no, I don't think Russia's going to step up and dominate. I don't think that at all. I don't think they're capable of it. I think they have a broken economy. I think they've got a failed system. I think they are, one event away from the people just losing it on their leadership. Almost happened 2 years ago. No, but I think that the European Union is saying, you know what? We can't depend on these guys anymore. We got to fend for ourselves. And, maybe this was what he wanted. Maybe he wanted them to spend more money on their military. But once they have the military independence from the United States of America, why do they need to have the economic dependence on the United States of America? Couple that with his tariff threats and everything else he's been doing. It's just ridiculous. I get it. You want to, flood the zone in domestic politics and get your political opponents off balance. That's one thing. You can't flood the zone when you're talking about international diplomacy. It is a delicate dance played. And your allies and your adversaries and your enemies are listening to every word you say, and they are reacting to it. They are not waiting for the next election. They're not biding their time. Like, some Democrats say they're biding their time to the next election, and I don't believe that either. No. Europe needs to figure out what they're going to do if the United States of America is not there, and they've already started thinking about it. And I don't know how that helps us. China's starting to think about, well, maybe the United States is not going to be engaged internationally. What do we do now? Maybe we just go take Taiwan. We've always wanted it. Maybe the United States won't come to their aid. And by the way, be a pretty good assumption right now with this president. What's in it for me? I'm just saying, America, pay attention to what this guy is doing. Call your representatives and say you need to pull him back. There's a budget due in a couple of weeks. The House Republicans have passed theirs. Senate still debating. I think that this is the opportunity for members of the House and Senate to put real guardrails around this president. And they better do it. Because I don't know that we could wait 2 years for Democrats to take the House back. I really don't. I don't think that's possible. I don't think we survive. And Democrats, you better be thinking, and I'm not saying survive, I just think that changes will begin to happen that we will not be able to undo in the rest of the world. Bells will be rung that cannot be unrung by his actions. This is not domestic politics. He does not understand this at all. He might be right, politically anyway, about flooding the zone domestically. But he is completely wrong about using the same tactic internationally. Because once those trains leave the station, they are not coming back. So I'm, concerned. You should be concerned. Call your congressman and tell them that you're concerned. Call your senator. He's got to stop. Ukraine has been fighting the fight that we didn't have to fight. No American blood shed, and Russia diminished. That was a good thing, not a bad thing for the United States of America. I don't think Trump understands that it's a good thing, or maybe he doesn't want to understand because Vladimir Putin doesn't think it's a good thing. And he's got some strange affinity to him. I'm not going to say he works for him, but maybe. God, why else? You have the former president of Russia taking to X over the weekend, calling Zelensky a pig, saying the pig got his comeuppance in the Oval Office. I don't know how that's good for us. I really don't. I don't. Not even a little bit. All right. I'm going to remind you now, as I always do, to seek the truth. Question everyone and everything, even me. Seek the truth. I know it's out there, and I know you'll find it if you look for it. And I'll be back here again real soon to tell you the truth as I see it. I'm Chris Hahn. Thanks for joining me on the Aggressive Progressive Podcast.